Welcome to the Better Upper Lip. Long overdue catch-up episode. Thank you very much for joining me. So, a little bit of a treat, an explanation. So, if you've been keeping tabs at all on what is going on in America right now with bar tests, and there's no reason you should be because you didn't subject yourself to the same torturous experience that I did with law school. Basically, the bar exam has been delayed a couple times, so as such, I've been doing nothing but studying, trying to keep my momentum up. So I apologize for the lack of videos lately. Been trying to save my money, but hence, as they say, necessity is the mother of all invention. So I'd completely forgotten that when I had moved here, and I had moved into my last house before, I had brought a whole bunch of Cellared beers and I kept them in this fridge in this garage that, for reasons I cannot remember, I completely forgot about these beers in there. So for the next couple of reviews, I'm essentially cleaning out my cellar, drinking a bunch of beers that have been cellared for a long time. Some of which might be admittedly past their prime, but that's why I'm here. You're a guinea pig to see how they turned out, maybe a couple surprises. So without further ado, today we're going to jump into our first cellared entomb experiment. So today we're going to be drinking the Traquair 2020 ale. This is from the Traquair House Brewery, and I believe it's pronounced Peeblesshire or Pebbleshire. Apologies for my UK viewers out there. But this beer was, according to the bottle, was brewed in 2010. It tells you best enjoy it before 2020. It tells you even more specifically if you can drink it before the end of April 2020. So, of course, here we are now in August. Obviously, a little delayed, but I can attest with this beer. I did keep it pretty much in the dark at all times. There were a couple periods where it might have not been at cellaring temperature, but other times it very much was. So, not near perfect cellaring conditions, but pretty close. So hopefully that won't bite me too much with how overdue we're at this point. But it's an English style barley wine. It's coming in at 10%. I could not get any info as to the IBUs, but for those of you who are familiar, English style barley wines, unlike their American counterparts, tend to pretty much be giant malt bombs, giant malt showcases. American barley wines are typically going to be much hoppier, much more bitter. English barley wines are not. They're much more subdued in their hop profiles, and again, very much are a profile of the maltiness more so than anything. So, as such, they are a great style for cellaring if you do want to get hold of one, especially one that's at 10%. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this into a snifter and see what 10 plus years have done to this. So I just popped the top and I heard it hiss, so it means it's kept carbonation. Oh yeah, I'm already noting the viscosity of this bad boy. Now I'm going to be careful to try not to get any of the sediment on the bottom. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so as you can see, it poured out absolutely gorgeous mahogany color. Translucent through the sides. It just looks like swamp water. It looks very murky. There's really no light that's piercing through it. I mean, it looks like I'm swimming through the Okefenokee at this point. Beautiful red tinge around the side. You saw the pour, there was basically no bubbles whatsoever, but typically, even when beers like this are fresh, because of their higher ABV, they're not going to be probably putting off much of a head anyway, and given the age too. But again, I had a nice hiss, so I know it's not flat, which is good. Let's see. Definitely some legs coming off a bit. All right, very excited for this next part. Let's get a whiff on it. Yeah. So pretty much just spot on, indicative to the style. Huge, huge roasty malt aromas coming out of this. With that characteristic, just really dark fruits, cherries, plums. Kind of smells like a liquid fig Newton a little bit. There is a bit of a tanned leather smell coming out of this as well. It doesn't have any of that weird heavy dactyl smell or any smells that indicate it's been oxidized or is too old. It definitely smells like a cellared beer though. Yeah, so it smells very pleasant. All right, let's go ahead and get this on the lips. Cheers. So that flavor is like the equivalent of, some of my European viewers might not know this, but some of my Americans might. If you ever had the chance when the shuttle program was still going on and you were able to get down to Cape Canaveral, Florida to go see one of the space shuttles launching, they position civilians, I think it's a good 2+ miles away from the rocket to see it off. So when you see that thing taking off, it's pretty much dead silent. You don't hear anything until a couple seconds later when the sound wave catches up and hits you. And when I mean hits you, it blasts you in the chest and your ears are just ringing because you've got this giant engine exploding. That's pretty much what this is doing in my mouth. Yeah, a lot going on. And excuse the stammering, I'm just trying to kind of put my thoughts together and describe. So the front of the tongue, some of that very expected malt sweetness coming out of it. Again, English barley wine, not really surprised by that. Sweetness is a bit more very fruity forward. So I'm getting a lot of cherries is the big thing that I'm tasting on that. Middle of the tongue starting to get more of these sweet bready notes coming out of it. It's tasting a bit kind of like a cinnamon toast in terms of just that very dark caramelized sugar. And there's a bit of that burntness to it too. So almost kind of like a roasted marshmallow a little bit. Where there's that very, very distinct kind of burnt bitterness going on, but a very nice undertone of sweetness coming through. Believe it or not, I'm not really getting a ton on the back of the tongue. Mouth feels big, feels very appropriate. It's actually not as heavy of a mouthfeel as I was expecting it to be. Yeah, I'd say it's about a medium heavy. Again, it's not super, super heavy. I was actually expecting a bit more of a weight presence kind of it, more of a tannin kind of sensation to it. Little to no carbonation in this beer. I mean, there's a little bit that's kind of prickling along. I mean, I can tell it's there, but after like a second or two in the mouth, it's pretty much all but gone. And the more that this is starting to warm up a little bit, and I'm actually starting to lose, believe it or not, some more of the fruity notes and much, much more of that bready malt sweetness is coming through on this. So this is now kind of almost turning into something more akin to tasting like a piece of pecan pie than a fig Newton as the aroma indicated when I first started drinking it. Yeah, and again, the asterisk that I pretty much presented at the start of this, I've never had this beer fresh before, so I don't know what this tasted like in 2010. So it's really hard for me to give a before and after perspective review of this as such. I don't feel like I can drink this beer and tell you to, not go out and get like a Traquair house ale that's fresh. For the bones of an English barley wine, it's really good. I mean, it tastes in a lot of expected ways. But aside from the fact that it's aged 10 years, had a very, very super complex flavor explosion right off the bat, there's not really a whole lot going on to it. Namely, the fact that past the middle of the tongue, I'm not really getting a ton of aftertaste. There isn't this really lingering back of the tongue flavor where I feel like even after I've stopped drinking it, the flavor is continuing to develop and that I'm tasting more of the beer. It's kind of like it's hiding an ace up its sleeve here a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I guess the best way I can sum it up is kind of like the beer. Once it's been in your mouth for about 3 seconds or so, it kind of loses its gas a bit and just really tastes like a not very carbonated, super malty beer. The bitterness that I'm getting from this is pretty much, I'm going to assume, just from the malt. And again, you can see how dark this is. I mean, past 10 years, I'm not expecting to get any hop presence in this, let alone much hop presence from an English barley wine anyway. So, am I happy that I kept it for 10 years? Like, yeah, I mean, pretty much the bottle, that was kind of the niche reason I bought it to begin with, all those years ago. I mean, I remember getting this from Total Wine just outside of Atlanta, and that was why I got it. I'm happy that I kept it this long. I'm happy also that it doesn't taste disgusting. Like it does, it definitely does not taste like some older cellar beers where it was left in light, it was kept too warm, and just did not age well. So again, because I haven't had this fresh, I can't really objectively say how well this has aged. Am I going to finish this? Yes. Is it tasty? Yes. Is it blowing up my skirt? Nope, not at all. Yeah, it's just okayish. I mean, I've had other cellar beers that were less complex in terms of their layout, that were cellared for far less times, less times that were preferable, and they tasted much better. So yeah, it's just kind of an okayish beer. It's just not really, putting the foot forward in the way that I was hoping a 10-year cellar beer would. So that's going to be pretty much it for me on this beer, everybody. If anyone has had this beer before, have you drank it fresh? Did you do any type of vertical testing before 10 years? Like, let me know in the comments below. I would actually very much like to hear your thoughts on the Traquair House Brewery in general, as this is also the first beer from them I've ever had. And I promise here in the next couple days this week, I will have some more beer reviews. Again, I think I have off the top of my head 3 more cellar beers of various make and variety to get through. Some other American breweries, which some of my international viewers you might find very interesting. So that's going to be it today, everyone. Once again, thank you very much for watching. Hope you tune in next time. But until then, as always, remember to keep your mind sharp, your heart clean, and your upper lip bitter. We'll see you next time.